Welcome back to Writing Done Right. Well, today we want to revisit PHPLists because I had some requests to go a little bit deeper. So on our original installation video on PHPLists, which you can find in the description to this video, we talked about installing it. But then if you get it installed, it's functional, but it doesn't look all that pretty. Today we're going to go a little bit more detail and talk about how you can get your system set up right. Thanks for coming along to this Writing Done Right video. I am Tom Morosky, an author and a technology consultant, and today we're going to go a step further on our PHPList series, and we're going to look at how you can get your landing pages set. So with PHPList, this is of course the newsletter application. You do need to have some considerations. We talked about all those in the previous installation video, so go ahead and watch that video if you haven't already. At least watch the introduction so you hear a little bit more about what it is, how it works, and the limitations. But if you know you're wanting to use it and you're wanting to go ahead and use that system for your platform, today we're going to go in and we're going to do a step further. Now, we're not going to do all the template setups and stuff like that. We'll do that on a separate video. What we're going to do today, though, is we're going to go through and take your boring and bland setup, and then we are going to modify this so that the landing page looks the way we want it to look. This is going to affect the landing pages where you sign up to your newsletter lists. It's going to manage your unsubscribe boxes. It's going to manage your managing subscription system. So this one landing page is used. It's all done inside of the settings, and we're going to show you how to do that on today's video. All right, so here we are over on the computer, and what we're going to do is first I want to show you what's possible to do, and then we're going to kind of get started on some things, and then I'll probably stop and recut a little bit more footage at the very end. I'm just going to show you a few basics because there's always going to be some back and forth. There's always going to be a few errors that pop up, and I'm going to eventually, I'm going to want to stop recording the video, work on this the best I can, and then kind of show you at the very end. I'm just going to show you the basics about how to do things with the newsletters, just for the simplicity of time. But first thing we want to do is I want to show you the things that are possible with PHPList. Now, as you may have noticed, I'm not on my regular Writing Done Right computer. I'm actually on my web design computer because you do need some web design skills to do this. If you're not comfortable enough with working with websites and web design, you're probably going to want to hire somebody if you want to customize it. But in the case you are and you're just looking for some brief tips, or if you're interested in learning how to do some coding stuff, this might be a useful tutorial. So of course, right now we are on the Writing Done Right page, and as far as the Writing Done Right newsletter sign up, I just simply added a banner and really nothing else. So this one's not particularly edited other than just changing the banner. So that's not exactly the best idea of what we're going to be looking at when we are doing anything with our lists. Now, where things start getting interesting is in the Synaptergy book. So, of course, this is the book here, and if you click in on the newsletters, you're going to get to this page here, which is fairly simple still. It is a very simple methodology here. But at the same time, it's not as boring as the original layout is. Where I actually start getting into really good development is for my Christian site. Now, this is my main author site as far as being an author, and you can kind of see what the site design of this site happens to be, just to give you an idea. And when it came to doing the newsletter for this site, this is what the newsletter page looks like. So the footer is going to be a little bit different, but I do have all the link to the social media. The headers are very similar. I believe this goes back to the main site. These go back to the various main pages that you might, they're not in the same order that they were on the site. I might want to change that down the road later, but you can really kind of see what the newsletter signups look like. It's very consistent. All of the theming does match the original site. You can see if I click in on one of the subscribers here, there's only a single mailing list here, so we don't have a variety of different mailing lists. But you can see here that you enter your email address, you enter your name, you select your preferred. So we can actually go back to, let's go back a page to the newsletter list. There's update your preferences. So these guys here all look the same. So what our task is going to be here is we have a news site here, and what we're doing is we are opening up my publishing company LLC as being open for basically open for business. And we're going to be collecting mailing lists. We're going to be doing a lot of things working with Christian authors. We are going to be an indie company, so we are not selling services. We are publishing books and helping you sell those books. That's what our task happens to be. So if you're interested in any of that, you can head on over to owicpub.com and hit on the schedule a meeting button, and you can schedule a meeting and a consultation, pitch what your book happens to be. But what we're going to do today is I want to get a newsletter list, which I have just gone through, and I did I simply did the install. I did do the back end, like I've added my newsletter subscribers. So everybody that's already was on the old MailChimp system is now imported into this platform. I have my lists built out. I have all my settings done. But as far as all the front end pages, everything is all default. So here is the options where you can select what you want to join or not. My guess is the way these have changed, these might actually change on me on my other newsletter page when I look into it. This is a newer version of it. I don't know though. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyway, everything is horrendous and boring. And what we want to do is we want to make our landing pages and our subscribe pages reminiscent of this. So we might want this background picture. We're going to want this logo. We might want this independent publisher. Maybe we want the independent publisher going back to maybe back to the website or something. I don't know exactly what we're going to want there. And then, of course, our main portions over here, all of our buttons should look like our default button here. So this is kind of the goal that we are going to be looking for. So how do you actually pull this off? Well, what you're going to want to do is you want to get logged into your back end here. Now, there's a few things here. We're not going to be looking in this video, we're not going to be looking at what the newsletters actually look like. We'll do a separate video on that. But what we're going to do is just get the landing pages. And that is all inside of, I believe it's inside of your systems. It's inside of our settings. We just got to find out where our settings happens to be. So let's see, initialize, settings. Sometimes you just got to figure out where things happen to be. Config, settings. That's what we needed. All right, so inside of this setting here, you can kind of see where everything is set up. These are your various systems here. And what we are going to do is we are going to come down, and what we want to do is, here's our default footer. And our for when sending a campaign, for when we are forwarding a campaign. Eventually we are going to want to change those, but we do not want to change those right this second. What we are going to want to change though is our basic landing page settings, which are a little bit further down. So subscription UI. So if there's only one visible list, should it be hidden? The answer is yes. This basically means if there's a single list, just hide the list, make it a little bit less complicated. If there's multiple lists, that's the case. Now, this is the part we're going to be editing. So this is the header and this is the footer. You can see that we have some JavaScript in the footer, which is the appropriate place to put it. You can see up at the top, we happen to have the basic information up here, and all of this is kind of your default stuff. So any changes made inside of here are what's going to go inside your platform. You can see here, organization name. This is auto-filling your the information from your site. So that's actually, let me go back to my subscriber page. That's this right here. And then everything else, basically what's going to happen is it's going to get up to this spot here, and then there's going to be a break in the code. It's going to drop whatever happens to be in here, whether it's the public page. And so everything there ends right here. So if I actually look at the code for this page, and we have a look at what this looks like, we can see here's our header. Here's our, this is what our header part happens to be. Here's our container, main container, content, and then this is our content well, div class content well. That is this line right here. So what the code is going to do is it's going to take basically everything above this code and then everything below the code and have that as two separate things. And then what you're going to do then is whatever page you're on is just going to get dropped in here. So in this case, here we are on the subscribe page. You might be on this default page. You might be on the contact administrators page. I think that's just an email though. Here's the unsubscribe page. So you can kind of see what all you happen to have over here. So with all that being said, then what we're going to do is we're going to work with customizing this. How are we going to do this? Well, we're going to start with the code for this, and we're going to show you how to override some of this. And I don't think, yes, I did. All right, so here I opened up in Bluefish Editor, which is my preferred editor here for Linux. This guy here is basically our site. Now, all this down here, this was actually modeled off of the old version of the site, which I took down to put a single page up. So really everything inside of this guy here, this is all just commenting out. I can literally, that just doesn't mean anything. Just throw it away, scrap it, kill it, nuke it. Everything else here is pretty standard. So all really, what we need to do is we have to figure out how to merge this content in with the other content that we had. So having a look at what we are looking at here, we have some font awesome in here. I'm probably not going to need font awesome, so let's just leave that out. We have a couple fonts. I'm not going to worry about the fonts in this tutorial here. Eventually I am going to pull these fonts in or change them to something. I mean, Open Sans, I have that font. Merriweather, I'll see if I can get that font. We have Bootstrap Min, which already should be loaded into here. Let's see if it does or not. It may not be. So it may not be loading in Bootstrap. Let's go ahead and have a look at this page. Let's see if it's actually loading Bootstrap. It might be. It might be putting that in with something. If not, though, I don't know. We do have Bootstrap Min specifically for PHPLists down at the bottom. So since this is just going to be a basic content wrapper, let's go ahead and not worry about putting that in at the start, but we might put it in later. If we have problems with the site, we'll go ahead and put it in. The big thing that we do need is we need our main styles sheet, which is this guy here. Now, remembering in cascading style sheet is that whatever is, since it cascades, whatever's below in the code is going to take precedence. All right, so what we're going to do, what that basically translates into is figuring out where this is our main admin CSS. So if I were to kill this CSS code here on the fly and just kill it, you can see that it just completely breaks the code. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into our server and we're going to make sure that the style sheet for this is uploaded into the system, and then we're going to go ahead and add it on in. So let's go ahead and pull up this guy here. Let's figure out where that guy happens to be at. So in our code, that is under our, just under our CSS. And it's the creative min is the one that we want. So I already have the server pulled up. Let's go with our newsletters here. And I'm just going to drop it into this styles page. You saw that the other one's not in styles, but it's just easier to call these styles. So we're just going to go ahead and drop this guy into styles. There's probably more CSS in here than we need, but that's going to be good enough. Let's go ahead and edit this guy here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to link in another style sheet. So I'm just going to copy that. And instead of this whole URL here, though, all I'm going to need is it style or is it styles? So it's called styles, and then I'm going to want the name of this. So we'll just copy that name there. And we're going to save changes. So this may not notice any major changes, but we'll kind of see what it happens to do. All right, so it didn't actually cause any changes because we don't actually have any code in here that it would. But let's go ahead and verify that this is in here. So we can kind of see that it's in there. You can see that it's actually pulling all the code. So that's exactly what we need. Excellent. So now let's go into here. And now that we have that, we have to decide or determine rather in our main page here, where is this background banner being inserted from? So is that being inserted in the body or is that being inserted in something else? And I'm not actually sure where it is, so we're just going to have to hunt for it. I think it might actually be in the body code. Oh, maybe it's in the header code. I bet it's in the header code. All right, so here it's in the header code. So the CSS is going back. It's looking for image header is what it's looking for. So let's make sure that that is in the system here. And we have a couple options. One option is we could change the CSS code to say images, where we already have some images, or the second is we could simply add a directory called img. Now, adding the directory might make updating PHPList harder later, but for the sake of this here, I don't know, what should we do? Well, you know what? Let's see, what line's that? How big is this thing? It is a minified CSS that might actually give Bluefish Editor a problem. But let's go ahead and see. Oh, that's right. I can't drag and drop onto that. Let's just go ahead and open up like this. And let's see if we can figure out where that image header is. So we're going to find image. Okay, so right there, image header. See that? We're just going to change this to images. Save that. And we're going to go ahead and upload this file. I'm going to move things around here so I can more easily work. All right, so styles, re-overwrite that one. That should have slightly changed. And still, we should not see any changes when we go ahead and update, because again, we're just making small changes to things. All right, so now let's go ahead and look at our index here. Now that was inside of the header code, which is right down here. We have navigation code up here. We have body code up here. The body code should not make any difference. The navigation code, we can go ahead and delete this because I don't need any of that in there. All right, so we're going to do that. So now we're just going to grab navigation. We're going to go down to header. Let's see. Okay, so we're going to want our content inside of here. So let's just go ahead and grab from the start of our navigation down to the end of our, let's see, that's not where we want to go though. Let's go ahead down to header, container auto, row. Okay, so this row here is kind of where we start text. So let's go here. We're going to copy this. Once again, make some edits. Now, here is body class fixed and visible. We might have to change that around later. But now what we're actually going to do is we're going to copy this. And we're actually going to go down and paste it, overwriting all of this information. All right. So we're going to save that. Now, the footer, we're going to want to do some changes to the footer right away as well, because this will otherwise cause some issues. Since we went to there, this is the closing div tag for that. All I want is this closing div tag and the header, and then We're going to pretty much ignore everything else for now, although we might want to put some of that back in later because this might cause a dumpster fire in everything that we are doing. So we're going to get rid of all this. Let me make sure there's nothing in here that's important, which I don't see anything. Save changes. And now let's see if we've completely killed our system or if it actually works out well. Let's have a look. All right. So you can kind of see that there's some things that aren't working. It's not loading our key image. So let's go ahead and start investigating some of what might be wrong here. All right. So here's our nav. So first thing is we're going to go ahead and see if we can figure out what's up with the images. So it's not finding the images. Oh, you know why? Because we never put our header image in the file, didn't we? We need to drop that image in that file. So that was our header, and we need to drop that into images. Go ahead and do that. All right, so now it can find our header. So now, though, we see this spot up here. That's because this class fixed. So this class fixed up here is actually going to mess with stuff. So let's go ahead and change that to, I think it's just called page top. Let's just kind of match whatever we have over here. I think it's an ID page top. I don't think that there's any styles attributed to the ID page top, but we're going to go ahead and do it anyway, just in case it is. You never quite know with some of these templates that I borrowed from. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. And there's going to be something else up here that's causing that that change. Okay, so looks like it's probably our navigation is actually causing some of the issues here. So this is the part that we'll have to dig in and figure out what the issues happen to be. What this most likely is, speaking from a lot of Bootstrap experience, is they're probably loading a different version of Bootstrap than what I'm doing. Or maybe I just need to drop in the rest of my Bootstrap code. It does appear that we do have some Bootstrap, but I don't know for sure. So let's go ahead and just test that. And we're going to test that by dropping our Bootstrap CSS into here. So let's go ahead and pull up our CSS. And where is it? I think it's under, is it under vendor Bootstrap CSS, I think? Let's see where this is at. Vendor, Bootstrap, CSS, Bootstrap min. So let's just go ahead and grab our Bootstrap min. We're going to drop that into our styles. Okay. Now we're going to edit this guy here. Now Bootstrap needs to be above the other ones. So we'll go ahead and drop this one up here. And it should be called bootstrap.min. Save changes on that. And let's see what that does. Okay, so we have some more Bootstrap going. We have some of our code going. We don't have our images quite right. And our navigation up here is still being a little bit wonky. All right, so what's going on here? I think we have, yeah, see, there's where that is there. All right, so this is going to be the part, maybe what we do is we just drop this, but I still need to get that page logo in there too. So this is the part where I'm going to have to pause out the video and track down what the issue is that I'm having. And then we'll also fix some of the list items over here. I'm going to fix the button. So the button actually should be something we can actually fix pretty quick. Let's see what we got. So we're using button primary. We don't need the JS scroll trigger, but these are the 3 lines of code in the button that's doing that. Oh, you know what? Actually, there's a little bug that I'm going to have that I am going to have to fight with this. What we're going to have to do with this input button here is I'm actually going to have to get in and see if I can't override some of the code in that and get that guy fixed up. Should be possible. I just gotta figure out exactly how to do that again. So we're on the right track a little bit here. That's kind of the process we're going to do. This up here, it's likely either a bootstrap mismatch with whatever PHPList is giving us, or something else over here where we're getting, basically you can kind of see what this guy's doing here. Is not giving me this background transparent, and it's not moving up the banner here. So let me show you that over here. So doing this guy here. So you can see it's not giving us the background transparent that we needed. That's the part that I need to get figured out there. So once I get that figured out, that'll be there. So we'll go ahead and pause the video for now, and we will see what I can do with that. So that was a very quick, easy change there. So what we actually did is we put the bootstrap over. Since they do cascade, this guy here, the style CSS, does actually contain a lot of the bootstrap code. So what I wanted it to do is I want PHPList to have its own bootstrap code, but then I want to override it with anything specific. So I just moved my bootstrap underneath their bootstrap code, and then that fixed that. Now you can see this guy here is... we didn't transfer the publishing logo over yet. So let's go ahead and drop that into the image folder. And that actually should be changed to say images folder, not image, just like the other ones. So we'll go ahead and do that. So that is the image logo there. And let's go ahead and re-edit this. And we're going to find that line of code, which is... got to find that line of code there. It should be up here somewhere. Here it is. So change that from IMG to images. Now refresh. We should have our logo there now. All right, so there we have our logo. One of the things that I'm noticing right now is it really scaled down the size of my page for some reason. I have no idea why that is. We'll go ahead and look into that. That's probably when I changed the bootstrap order. I bet that they have the required code to reset the size of the they reset the size of the viewing window. I bet that they manipulated that in their CSS and were overriding that is probably what that happens to be. But I'll look into that one and be back in a minute. All right, so we're going to land on this one for now. I'm probably going to go ahead and make a few other adjustments eventually. So let's kind of look at this. We got our sizing, font sizing right. So this was something that was actually inside of the default style sheet that I had to overwrite. You'll see kind of like the orange highlights, orange over here. That's actually because of my operating system, as you noticed, is defaulting to a lot of orange. That's just the theming that I've done for this because my business colors are black and orange. This system is themed to my business. So you can come down here and select whatever newsletters you want to be part of. You can see that I have my buttons set up now to match the original site. I might need to increase the size there a little bit of the font, but that's actually pretty easy to do. And I do actually have everything is centered out. Like I said, I'd probably like to space a few things out a little bit better. I might want to change this to my blue color and put the white background. I'm still not 100% happy with how these look. I want to, they're just a little harder to read. It was just all blending together when everything was white. So I wanted to do something different on those. I'm going to experiment with those a little bit. But you can see now that we have our landing page pretty well created. Let's go back to our default again. This one here, I'm going to have to go through and fix up this page here as well. Probably just make these very large links and do whatever I end up doing to these subscribe lists there. So how do we manage all of these? Well, the types of things I put in, this guy here ended up being what was messed up inside of the banner system that was causing everything to get really small. Is the style sheet default of PHPList actually wanted to default the height of that to a maximum of 45 pixels. So I overrode that here by doing the max height of none. That way the logo would determine the size of the banner, which is more preferable. You can see this big input block here. I could have probably streamlined this a little bit, and I'll probably go back through and streamline it a little bit more. There's probably some duplicates. Basically what I did here is there's no way to actually change the styles inside of the default auto-generated code. So what I had to do instead is I had to target the submit button specifically. So I called input with the type equals submit. And then I just grabbed all of the code. So like, because I'm doing this on Firefox, it's going to give me the Moz user select, but I'm going to have to go back and grab all of the code for the other ones as well, like the WebKit ones and whatever else I need to drop in there. And then just kind of fix it up. Like I said, there's going to be some things duplicated. We'll go ahead and fix those. But I just copied the content of all of the original CSS from the original site and just pasted it all in a big blob. I'll go ahead and fix that later. The information, this is the one that I end up just adding that to just give me a little bit more space. I think that was here. It gave me a little bit more space in between a few items, which I felt was very necessary for readability. And then I got rid of the list item bullet points by targeting the UI list. And then the table, there's a table right here. These are actually inside of a table, and the best way to center that was actually just to force the table at 100% width. So that's why I align the tables at 100% width, and then the label bolds. That's actually what I'm doing. In fact, maybe something to try here real quick to see what this does is, what if we give it the blue backdrop, the blue shadow with keep the text white? That's something I was thinking might actually work, and that's something we can test real quick. Let's do that, and then refresh the page. That's actually sticks out. That's a lot better. You can kind of see a faint blue. In fact, though, with that, I might actually go back and add a little bit more depth to that. So let's see what happens if we do a 1 pixel on that as well. So we're just going to go in and just kind of make the blue a little bit more, stick out a little bit more there. I think that that's something I can do. Give it a little bit of a glow. I think that's actually pretty good there. So we'll do 0, 0, and 5. That gives it a little bit of a blue glow there. So we'll go ahead and make that adjustment here real quick. And then what we're going to do, let's see, that was 5 there, and then 0, 0. And then we'll go ahead and adjust these on the front of the front page there as well. So let's see what that looks like. So it looks pretty good. All right, let's go back to our main page, kind of give you a little bit of insight about how we did this. So I'm just using my developer tools. In this case, I use an older version of the browser, so I can still use Firebug, which was an infinitely better developer tool than the stuff they give us now. So here we have, this is going to be harder to do because it's all set up in P tags with no A's. I'm going to have to think about this because that's actually going to mess up a lot of other things. So I'm going to have to play around with that a little bit there. The problem is, let me show you what the problem is with that. The problem is these guys here, you know what? Like this guy here is the same code. Anything I do to that is going to do to this code. Actually, no, it won't do that one. All right, I have an idea. Just the quirk of PHPList. Ideally, these should have class tags. I don't know why PHPList does not give us class tags in these, but they should have separate class tags. But since they don't, but this is the only place I'm seeing an A inside of a P tag, then what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and target P, A. And inside of this, we're going to do our color. We're actually going to style it exactly the same way. Let me just copy this. We're just going to style it exactly the same way as this. Oop. And we'll see if that makes that a little bit more pronounced. And it does. So that's actually very nice. So you can kind of see that there we are. Now we have nice tools there. If we go back to just the basic newsletter page, this is a lot easier to read. So everything over here is nice. We're going to have to fix up some of these guys here. I'm going to move this button down and stuff, but we'll get there. This is the part where the unsubscribe button now is a little bit bigger than I would like. But that's nothing much we can do about that because it's not giving us anything specific that we can target, and it's not giving us anything inside of here that we can. So we'll go through and do that. We'll probably also make some changes to the H3s there, and from there it's pretty much good. So we'll call this good for now. Of course, I'm going to fix up a few of these other items, but that'll give you a little bit of insight as to how you can adjust your PHPList default landing pages to look a lot more attractive. So have a look at this after this video is posted, and we'll actually have I'll probably have this finalized by then. So thanks for coming along, guys, and I hope that we have taught you how to get your writing done.